Thanks for listening to Adventures in Artslandia. Download the Artslandia app on iTunes, where you're going to find a comprehensive arts calendar that's the best in the West. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Artslandia.
I'm Dmae Roberts, stage and studio.
And I'm Susannah Mars of Adventures in Artslandia.
And we are here combining forces right now to interview the great Margaret Cho.
Super exciting.
We're going to have a conversation with the actress and comedian Margaret Cho, who is just amazing, and she's coming to Portland again. She's been here quite often.
And 4 nights, too, which I was totally amazed. I thought, wow, we're so fortunate to be able to have her for this long. She's an incredible force.
And she's going to be at this very intimate club, the Helium Comedy Club. Mm-hmm. So I assume she's trying out new material. She really likes Portland a lot.
Yeah, and she has a new show just off the bloat, which she's been doing, and I read quite a bit about it across the country, around the world.
Just off the bloat?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's a show that she's been doing, I think.
I thought it was Fresh Off the Boat.
Fresh off the bloat. Fresh off the bloat.
Oh, is it bloat, not boat?
Yes, it's bloat.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to ask her about that. I'm so excited. When was the first time? I mean, the first time I ever knew about Margaret Cho was her show, All American Girl.
Yes. And
the first Asian American sitcom.
Right. And then I read, and I remember actually the big, I don't even know how, debacle really, with one of the big hoo-has at the studio telling her that she was too round. And
oh yeah, they made her lose weight and get really self-conscious about her body, and when she was gorgeous,
very sick as a result.
She did,
which was a brutal reminder of what's happened in the past with women.
But it was the first Asian American sitcom, and since then she has been just this goddess of comedy, touring everywhere.
Right, and I was so fascinated when I started reading. Her parents ran a gay bookstore in San Francisco. Just her history and how she is really a huge icon in the Pride Parade. She's often being a grand marshal at Pride. She's really an incredible woman who has gone against the tide.
Well, yeah, and I just have so much admiration for her. And one of the times she was in Portland, I asked her if she wanted to host my radio series, Crossing East. And that was a national series that ran across the country about Asian American history. And I was so surprised she just automatically said yes, right at this interview. And that's the kind of person she is. She just goes from the gut, and she just does, her passion projects.
And Margaret Cho is just doing that every day in this career. A very, I would say, a really challenging life of traveling as much as she does, touring, trying out new material. Stand-up comedy is just not for sissies. You've got to be so on it every night. New events coming up. Everything's got to be pertinent.
I don't know how anybody can. I mean, I would not be brave enough to do it.
It's amazing to me. I'm just in awe of her as an artist.
Well, I'm so excited to see to talk with her, but also to see her when she's in Portland. We're going to give that information, but she's actually going to be at the end of August. Let's just give that information now before we talk to her. Thursday, August 30th, 8 p.m., Friday, August 31st, and Saturday, September 1st at 7:30 p.m. and 10 p.m., and Sunday, September 2nd at 7:30 p.m. And I'm sure she has all that info at margaretcho.com. So let's talk to her.
Call right now.
Here we go. Okay, so it's been years. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's great to have you back in Portland. We're so excited, both Susannah and I. So your show at the Helium, you've been there before. Now, how do you like? You like coming back, don't you?
I do. I love Portland, and I love the club, and it's always so fun to play there. So it's really exciting to come back.
And are you trying out new work at the Helium Club?
Yeah, always. That's a kind of a constant, When I perform at comedy clubs, it's a great opportunity to really stretch out and do different things, do new things. So that's really exciting for me. And, the last time I was in Portland was actually the election. And so I was caught up in all of the riots, which was really crazy.
Yeah, what a bad day.
Was so nuts. And it was really an incredibly strange time to be there, and people were so outraged, and it was really incredible. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to coming back.
Well, I'm wondering what that experience was like for you to be there right after the 2016 election, and then having all the riots happening, and
It was
how
really
that
crazy.
how did that affect your material that you did?
Well, as now, it's always good to talk about, which is a lot of what I'm talking about on stage too. So that's a big part of, what trying to make sense of it and trying to get through it, and I think humor is incredibly helpful in coping and getting through what is really kind of disastrous times. But yeah, then it was really an incredible thing to witness. And also, you realize and you remember how political of a city Portland is, which is something that I've always loved. So I think it's a great thing to be able to come back. And, I'm glad that I was there for when that all happened.
So as an artist, how do you digest, like when something's happening right in the moment like that was? And I would venture that like so many things that happen to you while you're seeing and digesting this yourself, you're thinking, okay, material, how do you kind of take time on your own to write directly from events that are happening on a daily basis when you're doing a show, when you're traveling as you are?
Well, it's a constant, you're always, you're always writing, you're always trying to take a step, you're always trying to put something into what you're doing that's very current. And what's great is that the way that social media is and news is that we really all kind of know the same stuff at once. So there's very little exposition that you have to do nowadays. Everybody kind of knows what is what. And so that's an interesting time to perform in, too, where we're all on the same page and looking at the same things. That's really great.
That's fantastic. It's really interesting to think about how you do that. How do you keep your spirits up during these times, and especially when you're on the road?
Well, it's really interesting, too, to see how we're viewed all over the world, and going to doing shows in Malaysia and Singapore and Hong Kong and London, and we get perceived so differently over there, and they're kind of watching just really aghast, and it's an interesting thing. So traveling and doing the show has been really informative and kind of a peace mission too, because everybody feels bad for America. They know it's not our fault.
Well, yeah, I was wondering about that. What kind of, I guess feedback you're getting or responses you're getting being an American overseas?
Very warm and very, they're welcoming us with open arms because they know it's just so embarrassing.
Here's a crazy question, but when I was looking online and reading all sorts of wonderful articles about you, I'm just a huge fan, and I just really appreciate the courage that you've just continued to show in your work, just kicking butt and taking on huge, brave issues. Yeah, you're welcome. I feel really honored to even be able to thank you for that. And I was really enjoying a lot of the photos that Albert Sanchez took of you in particular. And I wondered, I'm an actress as well, and I know when you have photographs taken, I'm like, they are just beautiful and sexy and bold. And how do you relate with a photographer? You've been doing it for years, so that you can really show yourself the way you want to with another artist, like a collaboration in the photography.
Oh, it's just, for me, it's just fun. I mean, like whenever I do a shoot like that, it's all of my friends and the people that I work with all the time, like my makeup artist. Although my hairdresser is now too famous.
Oh, really?
Jonathan Venice from Queer Eye for the Straight Guy.
Oh, my gosh. He's adorable. I love him.
He's adorable. I know he's a wonderful, wonderful person and a really fun guy. And so I just lost him as part of my entourage because now the world gets him, which is great.
Wow.
So I always have the best people around me working, side by side. We have a blast.
That must be really important.
Really great to be able to create.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important to have those people around you when you are, really taking risks in your work, and just to make sure that you're protected and loved in a way that makes you feel safe to take those risks.
I was wondering what other projects you have coming up after your shows, your tour that you're doing now.
I have some things I'm still working on. it's a long-term project and still trying to figure out whether I'm going to do Highland or not, which is the show about Korean American family getting very wealthy and the entire marijuana industry.
Wow. That sounds fun.
This has been going on for many years. I still don't know. We're still kind of like working on it. I'm not sure. But there's a million things, I'm just trying to launch some different stuff. But right now, touring is very, very much taking up all of my time.
Well, what can we expect on your tour? On what we're going to see?
Lots of stuff about the Me Too movement. There's so much to say and so much to get into. And it's a subject that I've, gotten into a lot before, even before this whole movement happened. And so now, having that also, of course, the big T word, Trump, that's major too. And how to survive it. And so lots of stuff, but it's really fun.
As an artist, how do you keep a balance? I mean, you're doing a million different genres. You're a writer, you're a comedian, you do clothing, you do everything. When you wake up in the morning, how do you get your head around what you're going to be doing and how you keep all those, streams in line?
Well, I think it's just fun. Like, I think that all of it is kind of very social to me, and I work with people that are also my close friends, and so every day is something different, and I like that variety. For me, it's really fulfilling, and I just want to get out there and be creative and do stuff.
That's amazing. I love it.
Well, that sounds like a great way to keep your spirits up too, not just on the tour, but just in general, just to be able to, to express yourself in this way. And also, you just sound like you're so positive, Margaret. You really do.
It's good.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, we've got to stay positive because it's a dark time and it's a scary time. And, we have to look at what's good. And I think what's good is that activism has been revitalized. I think that we've gotten to the grassroots of so many things that we needed to, whether it's the women's movement or LGBTQI pride. All these things are so powerful. So I think that we're getting to the good stuff, and that's what's really important.
Yeah, it really is. It's a great way to connect. And, your work, I'm sure, really inspires people to connect because you're doing it.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
What is it about Portland that keeps bringing you back?
Well, I think, it's just so beautiful. It's fun. It's just like I think it's just a very cultured city. I love the food. I love the fashion. I love bikes. I think it's just.
Are you still involved in the fashion industry?
I'm actually moving towards beauty, to the beauty space.
I was just wondering. I've done a little bit of reading.
Yeah, I'm going into that arena, which is very new. It's also another project that's kind of like taking up a lot of energy and time, and so that will be rolling out. I'm working with some options for monolids. I am, of course, a true monolid. I only have the Asian eye that is so hard to deal with when it comes to makeup and solutions.
That's really interesting.
I have not heard that term before, Margaret, to tell you the truth.
A monolid, yeah. When you have one eye, it's a thing because it's a different, like you're wearing different sunglasses, you're wearing different glasses. Like I don't have a bridge for my nose.
I don't either.
To wear glasses. So, that there's a whole fifth of the world, all Asians, who need solutions there. So that's a space that I'm moving into from fashion.
Yeah, I thought it really just hit me so hard watching and reading about your work, how you've really stood for the beauty of the whole person. And that means a lot to me because I have 2 daughters.
Yeah. I think it's really important. And I think, beauty now has become a very different world. And with so many wonderful influencers out there on social media, and we're seeing a lot more definitions of what is beautiful and what is catered to. So I think it's really cool.
What do you think about the advent of influencers and social media when it starts to take away from like human to human, eye to eye contact? What do you think that impact is on our culture?
Well, I think it is the way that people contact each other now is really through this sort of virtual reality, which is, I mean, I'm from this analog past where we had newspapers. And
So are we.
we have phones. And so, this is all still very new to me. But I think it's very interesting that the world online has become just as sort of valid as the world that's in front of us. So, it's really, I don't know, it's a new universe, and I love that.
It's cool, I think, that you're in, concert and live and kind of doubling that with also a media presence because, there's so many interesting studies coming up about what it means to be human and in a room with other humans, and to continue that, I think is really important.
Yeah, we need to do it all. I think that's, just to keep it really balanced.
Yeah.
Do you still have a lot of young people coming to your concerts and your shows?
I do. Yeah. I love that. And and I also have a lot of young friends, and I have that sort of energy to attract the younger people in my life, which I think is really great. And I always choose to work with really young people. I find that it's just very energizing for me, and I really am so grateful for that. But yeah, it keeps me young.
Will you be having like a Netflix special? There seems to be a lot of solo Netflix specials lately. So anything like that coming up?
No, I haven't filmed anything yet, so it should be. I'm about due for one. The last
you
one
are due.
in 2016. So yeah, I'm due for one.
Awesome. Well, it's been. Any final questions, Susannah? It's just so great to have you back in Portland, and for you to keep on doing what you're doing, because you really are an inspiration. I know a lot of people tell you that, but it's true. You really say it like it is, and you kind of weather a lot of storms for saying what you sometimes say, right? So it's good.
I'm grateful too. So thank you.
Well, we're gonna run up to you and try to hug you on Thursday
when you come here.
Are you a hugger? Or is that too weird?
Yes, I'm a hugger.
Yeah, okay, good. I mean, all of a sudden I realized that's right. People probably come up and try to hug you, and you don't know who the heck it is. And
well, maybe we'll introduce ourselves as that, or reintroduce. It's been a while since I've seen you. Well, thank you so much, Margaret Cho, for being here, and we welcome you back to Portland at the end of August, and have a great time on the tour before then.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You take care.
Yes, do.
Thanks, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, it's always so great to talk with Margaret Cho.
Oh my gosh, I've never talked to her. I felt very starstruck, and I think I sounded kind of dumb a couple times.
No, it's great to have fresh eyes on her too, because she really reaches a lot of different segments of women, but also just general public and LGBTQI and Asian Americans, and she really is across the board great.
Right, and to be doing this for 35 years. I mean, to be living the life of an artist and the travel, I thought it was really interesting to hear. And I forget this. It's so important to be surrounded by people who are good humans, who love you, and so that you feel safe to take those kinds of risks.
Oh, I know. I mean, it's just amazing that she's able to keep her spirits up like that. I want to give her info again, though, about where she's going to be. If you want to see Margaret Cho, and I'm sure you do, Margaret Cho headlines at the Helium Club on Thursday, August 30th at 8 p.m., Friday, August 31st, and Saturday, September 1st at 7:30 p.m. and 10 p.m. 2 shows in one night. And Sunday, September 2nd at 7:30 p.m. And you can find out more at margaretcho.com or at stageandstudio.org or kboo.fm/stage and And where else, Susannah?
Oh, at Artslandia, Adventures in Artslandia on artslandia.com.
There you go. So, we're eager to see her, but it's just, I find her just inspirational just to talk with, and also just to see her perform, because she's outrageous, but she is outrageous with social, with a message, with social justice,
grounded in reality, in her own narrative.
And I find, especially now, I don't know how you feel, Susannah, as a working artist, that there has to be a mission to everything that I'm doing right now, and there always has been to a certain extent, with the kind of work that I've chosen to do. But I really feel like even now, it's so much more important to be aware and to have a social justice, I guess, mission to everything that we do right now.
Yeah, it feels as though a veil's been lifted. I think I'm definitely had a lot of privilege in my life, and it continues to open my eyes as to how fortunate I've been, and to continue to question what I'm doing and how I'm doing it.
Well, especially the older you get, too. You really want to be choosy about what you're doing.
Yes.
Because when you're younger, it's like, yeah, I'll do that. Yes, 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 But now it's like, well, we've got to, less time, maybe not,
right.
depending on your family history.
Right.
But, you really need to think about, what's important to you.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, when we were talking about social media and how social media kind of takes away this real contact place of eye-to-eye contact. And the conversations that we're really wanting to have now are requiring it. So it's this weird, crazy disconnect almost with, I was talking to my daughter and her friend yesterday about calling a particular group they and what that means. And it's a question that comes up often when you start to group people together without looking at them individually. And those are the types of conversations you don't want to have on Facebook.
Well, I'm really inspired by younger voices and younger minds that how, just rejecting the norms,
right.
Rejecting what's considered, I guess what we grew up, the boxes.
Right.
And just getting rid of that, and coming up with a way that, that is more fair, that is more just in the way we even have our pronouns, and the way we talk about each other to each other.
But those conversations, to really dive into those types of issues, I think we do need contact. And that's where we're a little bit in a chasm, between having these great conversations out in the world, but we're having them out there, not with each other often.
Well, that's been more where I've been moving towards is community dialogue. It's always been part of a lot of the projects that I've been involved in, whether in radio or in theater or just arts outreach. But now I'm moving towards creating a new work that deals with the isms that have been even more pronounced in the last couple of years because of the new leadership or the lack of leadership after the 2016 presidential election, and to look at having monologues where we have a cross section of intersections of peoples dealing with race and with gender and orientation and with also just national origin, and then having community dialogues and taking this on the road, getting out of what's considered safe Portland in some respects, not always in all parts of Portland,
right?
But getting out into Eastern Oregon or more rural communities where there is a lack of being able to have community with POCs, but also with just being able to have more intersection and cross sections of people talking to each other.
It was interesting because I was in Los Angeles a couple weeks ago, and a man that I met, a black man, he said, "What's it really like in Portland, in regard to race?" And I said, I got to tell you, I don't think I can answer that question. I'm going to put you in touch with somebody who can, because I think that Portland, while on the outside we look all shiny and liberal, there's a not maybe so smooth and shiny center. And I've been reading more and more about some of the policies that we have in place that have really held people back. And it's pretty jarring to see these kinds of things and to read these stories and realize, okay, it's still going to take some digging to be the city that we want to be.
Well, I think it's a work in progress, and I don't really like the moniker that it is this progressive city,
right?
When there are certain choices being made to really segregate people and to push people of color outside of the main Portland
housing,
and especially with housing,
right?
But let's talk also about what in your work inspires you, and how do you choose your projects, and what's coming up for you?
I really liked what she said about social community.
Margaret Cho?
Yeah. And it's interesting because this has been a part of my life that I've really been thinking a lot about and putting experimenting. I'm a resident artist at Artist Repertory Theater, so I'll be doing a show there in the fall called Small Mouth Sounds, which is about a silent retreat, and I play one half of a lesbian couple. It's a wonderful, funny, deep piece about broken people trying to find their peace and their happiness. But in regard to work now, especially having the podcast, having an acting career, having a singing career, having a voiceover career, there is a lot going on, and I know you're exactly the same.
Yeah, sometimes you feel really spread out.
I'm realizing, I'm really trying to find ways to connect to, what I've been calling the flow, because I'm trying to surrender some of my natural inclination toward controlling things. I really am kind of...
Good luck with that.
I know.
That's what I do all the time.
But you know what I mean? Because also you've done such magnificent work. And when you've done your best work, did it just meet you? Do you know what I mean? Did you have an idea and then like a river, it met you? What the heck? How does it work?
I don't think it ever works that way.
Because you work your ass off.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to be more mellow, definitely. And there are times that I certainly am. But I feel like, if you really are passionate about something, you really have to make it happen, or you have to be with other people who share that same vision.
Right. For me right now, I feel as though it's this weird happy medium. It's a hard work ethic. There's no question about it. And then as you put these pieces in place, I've been writing this piece about my family life and my life as an artist for 7 years since my dad passed away. That's always out there. And I've been working on it with the help of Luann Schooler at Artist Rep. And Artist Rep has supported me very much in continuing to develop it as I got support from RAC. And so there's that. There are all these little pieces, right? So it's, again, that hard work ethic, that getting up and writing or singing or rehearsing, whatever the heck I'm doing, and then kind of also coupling it with seeing what comes down the pike, But it's a weird dance.
It really is, and I'm really interested in how the mix of this podcast is working for you. I've been interviewing artists forever, and for this for Stage and Studio for 20 years now.
Right, you've been a huge inspiration and a great mentor for me.
But from your perspective, how have you been enjoying it? Do you feel, sometimes it's conflicting, being able to be inside the arts, but also outside the arts at the same time.
What's really weird and interesting when I interview people that are not from our region, they don't know who the heck I am.
Exactly.
And it's the funniest thing I realized, and I just realized this recently. I thought, golly, I should be creating a one sheet that I can send out to these people so they think, okay, I know who I'm talking to. This person speaks my language as an artist.
Yeah, I get that comment all the time. It's like, you really know a lot about theater, or you really know a lot about film, or about, whatever. It's like, well, yeah, I work in it.
This is what I do.
But people don't really associate that.
Right. Well, and I think also when you're interviewing.
Even here, Portland people. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me that someone will show up to be interviewed by me, or whether it's a regional person or national, and they don't do any research about who I am. And there's no judgment
about
that.
There's no reason for them to.
Right.
Yeah.
But if there is potentially reason now, of course, if I'm ever going to be interviewed, I'm like, okay, who is this person and what's their background? And so I really enjoy it. It's very inspirational. I'm learning more and more about giving over the podcast now. As a white woman of privilege, I feel it's important for me to take steps toward having hosts come in and I can just be a listening ear and learning. I kind of call it Mr. Rogers style, and I'm hoping to do more of that coming up.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I've done that to a certain extent. But
I mean, even you and I sharing this as the few times that we have is great, because you're an Asian woman. You've got incredible experience, not to mention your expertise in media, to just be a listening ear and share the privilege, that I have in being able to do the Artslandia podcast. It's a good thing for me.
Well, I applaud you for keeping on going with it. And, I always wonder how long I'm going to keep doing it, to tell you the truth. But I always find it's interesting to get insights. Just hearing you ask questions to Margaret Cho is different than, what I was thinking of asking her. And I think that's what we need to have more of, is to have, maybe we need to partner more. But it's just, there's a freshness to it.
And
it gets you out of, just the same old, right? And to look at things a different way, especially when you're talking to somebody else about their work.
Right, and every artist has some interesting piece, and that it just kind of opens me up a little bit more. I think, oh, okay, wow.
I mean, and also just doing these interviews are also my form of social justice too, in the project that you choose to feature,
yes.
How can you make the world a better place?
Yes.
By doing that.
Right.
And so I think every component of whatever guest that I book has to have that angle to it.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's it for Stage and Studio, and I'll have the show online at stageandstudio.org or kboo.fm/stage and studio, as well as on iTunes. Till next time, I'm Dmae Roberts.
Thanks for listening to Adventures in Artslandia. Download the Artslandia app on iTunes, where you're going to find a comprehensive arts calendar that's the best in the West. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Artslandia.